Hey there guys, Conceptual Concept 6.9 here in the beautiful Pacific Northwest, and today I wanted to go over an update on my WBP Jack in 5.56. I'm nearing, I want to say about 700 rounds on this gun so far. I've been pretty impressed with the performance, so I thought I'd take it out, do some accuracy testing with it, show you all the upgrades I put into it, and let you know what I think of the rifle so far. So let's start with the upgrades. So I kept the standard flash hider that comes on these guys through Atlantic Firearm. I find not a lot wrong with it. I am thinking down the road, if this continues to be a reliable firearm, I am going to cut the barrel down, put an Occam Defense adjustable gas block front sight, and pin and weld a suppressor mount on here. Just because it's a pretty neat rifle, I'd like to be able to run a suppressor fairly reliable. Now, Atlantic Firearms, actually I don't believe Atlantic Firearms does, but Arms of America sells the bolt carrier group with a K&S piston already installed, or you can slap a K&S piston on there. I just don't like 16-inch barrels with cans on them. I find them kind of unwieldy, so that might be something I get into later. But let's go ahead and move back to what I've actually changed. Starting off with an RS Regulate handguard. I've been really impressed with this handguard. It does have a little bit of shift side to side. It's got a little bit of give, so I wouldn't really trust it to hold any lasers or anything like that, but it holds up pretty good. It's also very thin and streamlined in the profile overall, which makes it really nice to handle, right? This guy's the full M-LOK version. It has been holding up great. Nothing really bad to say about it. I don't have any crazy attachments on it right now just because I only have so many flashlights, so I'm trying to make this work. Past that, I did put an Ultimac M2B gas tube on here. What I like about the M2B is, I don't know if you can see that on here, but it's got ports in there, which helps bleed off some of that gas. I have noticed that it does reduce just ever so slightly the recoil on the firearm. Not a significant amount, but I have noticed between that and a standard gas tube, this does bleed off a little bit more of that gas. I am running a Blue Force Gear sling, and last but not least, my testing is still to be determined on the Texas Weapon System dust cover, but I'm gonna tell you, I'm not really jazzed about it so far. I had this guy on my KP104 prior to this, and after a few rounds, I want to say a couple hundred, this dust cover started to shift forward. Now I did Loctite everything, did wrench everything down to spec, but at the end of the day you have an elongated hole here that these two screws go in to adjust the tension forward and back, and that has risk of movement. Now, one thing I will tell you is within margin of error, there was no zeroing issues on the TWS on that gun. So I thought I'd try it out on this guy. I've really been liking this. Let's move back actually. I do have the K2 grip on here. The K2 grip is an awesome grip. It's my favorite. I think I've said this on the channel before, but if you don't notice your grip and it's not hindering you, it's probably a decent enough grip. I just find the K2 brings my finger back right where I have enough reach where that pad of my trigger finger is hitting the trigger there. Now I am running a Hollow Sun with the ACSS reticle on here, and I'm running a magnifier. Magnifiers are not my favorite, but I did find with the ACSS reticle, it looks almost like a long line when you don't have a magnifier on it. So this guy allows you to get a little more precise shots. This just kind of looks like a drag line going down unless you're really focused. So one thing I do want to note though is this gun really hates 223. I had Tula ammo, I had green tip, and I had match 77 grain OTM 223 ammo at the range today, and I'll tell you, the 223 in both accounts did not do good. Actually, the green tip performed pretty much how I'd expect it to. It performed fairly well. So we'll roll into that shooting footage there, and then we'll finish off with my overall thoughts on this gun so far. All right, guys, so we're gonna go ahead and group this gun with 3 different types of ammo at 50 yards. I know 50 yards isn't ideal, but red dots, even with magnifiers, aren't precision optics. I'm trying to give this the best chance it's got. So remember, 1 MOA at 50 yards is 0.5 inches to it would be 1 inch, etc. But we're going to be grouping with Tula first, then we're going to move on to some M855, and we're going to end with some 77 grain OTMs. Just see how it performs. I am expecting about 2 MOA, 2 to 3, but let's just see how it does. All right, so Tula first, let's see. We're gonna aim top left on this. Does help if the gun's loaded. All right, remember top left with Tula. All right, so that's 5 rounds of Tula. All right, so now we're gonna aim top right with 5 rounds of green tip. Just see how we do. Felt good about those 5. All right, so we got the 77 grain OTMs loaded up. Yep, it's in the chamber. So we're gonna aim center with the 77 grain OTMs. Just see how it holds up. All right, so clearly I'm not a great shooter, but I'm pretty happy with the 62 grain M855 group. That is about what I was expecting the accuracy to be. The Tula group was pretty abysmal, which I wasn't really expecting the Tula group to be great. God, that's pretty crazy. That's about a 6.5 MOA grouping. Now, if you take out that flyer, which very well could have been me because that ACSS reticle, aiming off a chevron is not something I'm particularly good at. So that could be me. But if you look at the match ammo as well, it didn't perform great with the match either. So the M855 seemed to do the best out of the 3, which is a surprise because that's not known to be very well grouping ammo. But so one thing I did want to mention as well is I did throw on a Magpul SLK stock on here. Looking back, I'd probably do something else. I'm not really happy with this stock just because of sling placement, but that's what I got on here. So as you saw, the accuracy was incredibly subpar, especially at 50 yards with 223, but it was perfectly acceptable with that green tip. And so I would say probably just stick to 5.56 with this rifle. 223, you can definitely use it for range ammo, but it was almost embarrassingly inaccurate. So I wasn't really impressed with that. What I was impressed with though is, God, this thing shoots well, it handles well. I was doing a little transitioning. I'll roll in some footage of that. All right, guys, so I hate this sling setup, but we're gonna go ahead and put this WBP through its paces, see how we do. We're gonna do a Mozambique and one on that C-Zone steel at 30-ish yards. That was egregious. All right, let's try this again. .233, that was really bad. I think I'm just gonna take this sling off and retry, see if we do better with that, because it's kind of tugging in weird places. I'm not super happy with it. .162, see, that's much better. See, 166, pretty good. And now let's do a bill drill. Let's just see how that works. 179, not great. This trigger's pretty abysmal. 194, and I think I only have one shot left. Let's see. Yep, I got one shot left. So let's do a headshot at 7 yards. .61. Overall, not a bad shooter. I'm pretty happy with this. The WBP trigger is terrible. By far one of the worst triggers I've ever shot. I've noticed quite a bit of trigger slap out of this. So this is a terrible, terrible AK trigger. I would recommend immediately when you get one, upgrade, because I'm definitely gonna slap something else in here. Thinking an ALG. Actually planning to make this into my competition rifle for a little bit and do some competition shooting with it because I like it so much. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. No broken firing pins yet, but again, I'm only at about 700 rounds. So if something breaks, I'll let you guys know, okay? So lastly, I do want to mention that I still hate the safety. 700 rounds later, I think it is probably one of the worst designed enhanced safeties. Now, other people can fight me on this, and maybe your hand's shaped differently, but when I go to engage the safety, the sheet metal just doesn't line up with my fingers well, so you get that edge digging into your finger as you engage it. So really not a big deal. You're not gonna be flicking that off constantly, but it's something to consider. And lastly, I think I might have said lastly already, but this gas tube lever is incredibly loose. It's very similar to the Palmetto, where it just kind of wants to free float. I find under recoil, it's wanting to make its way down. I found it down here quite a few times. And so there's that. But I think if you're in the market for a 5.56 AK and you can afford one, I wouldn't hesitate to get one of these guys. Maybe order a couple extra firing pins. I know word has gotten around that some of them break, and there's some evidence to support that as well. But I also have friends who use them in competition, and they've said they haven't broken any. One of them is quoting close to 10,000 rounds on their WBP 5.56 Jack. So I'm inclined to think that either A, it has been fixed, or B, it is limited to specific rifles. I'm 700 rounds in. Again, 700 rounds is nothing, so we'll see how it progresses. I bought 2 extra firing pins just in case, but I haven't had one break. My friends haven't had one break. So yeah, if you can get one, especially while they're still coming in the country. I think they're pretty rad, pretty soft shooting. I've really enjoyed this gun quite a bit, so I'd recommend it highly. I think for a 5.56 AK, this and the M90 are probably the 2 big ones. The Baril would definitely be good too. It's just in that $1,500 price point, maybe more than some people want to spend, and some proprietary parts involved there. So past that, I really don't have anything else for you guys. Just remember to go outside, enjoy nature's beauty, and eat that booty, all right?